Hello and welcome to the Feeder Series podcast, your guide to keep me up to date on everything in the junior single-seater world. I'm your host, Kimberley, and today we are talking to a driver who is early in their single-seater career, but somehow, despite those early days, they boast a name many Feeder Series fans will know thanks to a very young connection with an F1 team's academy. That name, of course, is Alex Powell, Italian F4's rookie champion of 2024 and Mercedes Junior since 2019's karting days. Welcome to the podcast for the first time, Alex. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be on. I'm still on a bit of a break at the minute, so looking forward to the second half of the season.
The break's been great. We're recording just for people behind the scenes in the summer break. I've crammed in a few podcast episodes that can go out over the season. So some things might be out of date, but this summer break's been lovely for everybody on the side in the racing. But very excited to have the racing starting up. And I know you'll be in the car soon as well. I've also got a first-time guest on the show in the form of Alex Powell, but we've also got a first podcast appearance for our Italian F4, Euro 4 and FRECA editor, Francesca Brusa. Welcome, Francesca. It's good to have you finally here. You've been covering Feeder Series for a good while and covering Alex. How are you doing today?
Hello, Jim. Hi, Alex. Hi, everyone. Thank you. It's good to be here. I couldn't wait to join the podcast, and I'm doing good. I've been really busy, with uni work, but also writing, but looking forward to getting this episode of the podcast started.
I can't wait to go through it all, and good to have you here as well, Francesca. It's lovely to have all the editors at Feeder Series. And if you like what we do, be it on YouTube, be it through Spotify, whatever podcast platform you're listening on, even if you go on the website and just come on every now and again, please subscribe if you are watching on YouTube. Drop a comment with your support. It really helps us out. And if you're listening, leave a review on the podcast platform you're listening on. That also does great for us. Right, let's get started, Alex. You're joining us, as you mentioned, in the second half of the year, late in the second full season of car racing for you. You've taken wins already in the Middle East F4 Championship and now Italian F4 as well. Let's talk about 2025. We'll talk about your history as well. But how is the year going from your perspective, from what you were hoping to achieve and how you're going to be going into the future?
It's definitely been an up and down season up until this point. We've had some really high moments. For example, as you mentioned, the Middle East Championship was a very good start to the season for us. And we've had some low points. So, to take an easy example, it's round one of the Italian Championship where we didn't really start off on a good note at all. And, it took us a while to get the ball rolling. And, of course, we know that, every round that we go to and we're not very competitive, it's points slipping away. So I would say as a whole, I think we can be quite proud of our season. We've definitely come a long way since where we started in the postseason test, last year. Collectively as a team, I think we're working really well together. I'm really looking forward to the second half of the season because I know we have some really strong tracks coming up. On paper, at least, we have some strong tracks coming up. So that consists of Mugello and Barcelona, especially Mugello. We know it's a strong place for us, but we're also anticipating that Mugello is going to be, Barcelona will be quite strong for us as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I feel that the team dynamic is really strong. I feel as a driver, I've developed a lot this year. I've had to deal with a lot of tough moments, and obviously now it's difficult, but I know for future it can only help me. So a lot of different, techniques that I've learned this year, a lot of different approaches just to the race weekend. And I feel it can only do good for me in the future. As difficult as it is in the moment, I feel that in the long term, it's only bringing good. So I would say that the season has had its moments. But yeah, as a whole, I would still consider it a pretty good season.
When you're up in the positions you're in Italian F4, which is very strong in terms of the F4 championships as well, it's got to be encouraging that you are making those logical moves up the field, and it's a competitive championship. Francesca, as you know, I'm going to ask about this because there are approximately, when I counted last, about 500 drivers in that championship, 500 cars on track at any given moment because it's so busy with so many people there. You have to split the races out. It's so manic, and I watch not as much as I should with how busy my weekends get, but I do watch those highlights and skim through some things. There are cars, the first laps are just insane. Cars absolutely everywhere. But yeah, you got Mugello coming up. By the time this comes out, you'd have won all the races, so you don't have to worry about it. You'd obviously done so well there already. But let's go on you, Francesca. Like I say, I catch races when I can, but you're dedicated to the championship. I'm used to speaking to drivers who want to be winning everything, and when they're not, which is most of the time, they're unhappy. They're quite critical on their performances. How do you view Alex's season from this year, progress from last year into this year?
Yeah, so I would say that despite 2024 being the year in which Alex has, of course, was obviously crowned the rookie champion of Italian F4, I would personally say that 2025 could potentially be Alex's best season in Italian F4, mainly because it has been much more consistent from my point of view, like a much more consistent season from my point of view, because, for example, you have like Alex has never finished a race outside of the top 18, which, when you have 500 cars racing, like Jim just mentioned, it's obviously like quite an achievement. And also, how can we not mention the 2 wins that he's achieved in Mugello? Obviously, taking not only his first, but also his second win in the championship during the same weekend, and also adding another podium to the tally. Obviously, you had already achieved one as Vallelunga. So I would say that obviously, leaving the Mugello weekend out of the narrative, it has been a year of less peaks because you were on the podium 4 times this year, which was the same result that you've had last year in the first 3 rounds. So from that point of view, it kind of was like a year of less like notable moments, but at the same time you have like the win at Mugello. So in general, I would say that it's a more consistent year, and depending on how the next rounds go, it can potentially be your best season in Italian F4.
Yeah, well, time this comes out, we'll find out that you've just gone and won everything and have got to close that championship gap. It's quite a gap at the top at the moment as we're looking. P1's zooming away, but let's zoom ourselves away as well and go further back in time, because your karting record is something that turned a lot of heads, a lot of silverware. I mean, you obviously talk about Mugello, you're not a stranger to trophies at this point, but I think you weren't anyway with the amount of titles and podium trips you had then, and you turned heads very young to get Mercedes backing you. And it seems strange asking this a year late, but we didn't speak to you last year. But how has it been now you're in the racing paddock, the Formula paddock, compared to those karting years where so many drivers spend all their time, and you'll be recognizing some faces, but it's a very different experience.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's a very different dynamic between the karting paddock and the car paddock. It's like I remember my first big race, my first Italian F4 race. It was like I had never been in a motorsport before. It felt like I was completely fresh to it because so many things were different. I mean, it was just the atmosphere in the paddock was very different. Of course, you have a lot more people coming to watch the races in formulas than in karting. And yeah, I mean, just the way you have to handle the race weekend and handle yourself. I mean, it's like you have to really take a big step from a personal aspect when you move into cars. And that was one thing that in the beginning was really, really tricky for me to understand that, I had to do a step from a personal side. I mean, I had a lot more responsibilities to cover as well. So definitely the first few months were a big learning experience, big learning curve. But yeah, as you mentioned, of course, karting was a really strong, I had a pretty strong career there, I would say. Not always winning, but what was nice, it was always quite competitive, always fighting in the front. And then, of course, as you know, you can't win all of them, but as long as you're competitive and consistently competitive, I mean, that's all you can really ask for. Some weekends, unfortunately, other drivers are going to be better than you, and you just have to kind of settle and do the best that you can and bring home the best result possible. I feel in karting, in many ways, we did that week in, week out. And then it just kind of becomes, a rhythm, consistency, and you build on confidence at that point. Whereas, yeah, of course, moving into cars soon thereafter, as I mentioned, there was so many things to learn. It was a completely new world for me. And yeah, it was a bit trickier to find that rhythm early on. But once you start learning things. I mean, get experience in some fields, and it kind of comes a bit more natural. But yeah, it definitely wasn't an easy switch. A lot more difficult than what I was anticipating.
It's just away from the racing side of things, which I know, especially, it makes me sound old, but people of your age, you've got iRacing and all these other sims you can jump into, have like a feel for the tracks and things, which like 50 years ago, that's not really an option. But that seems obvious. But what's it like behind the scenes as well, from the joining into the team, having motorhomes, going to these different places compared to, I know karting, especially at the level you're doing it, it's a very professional organization as well. But even the attention, did you find that quite different?
Yeah, that was quite tricky in the beginning to manage because obviously there's a lot more eyes on you at that point, and so you need to make sure that you keep a professional look at all times. So yeah, I would say that that was difficult in some ways, but also I would say covering responsibilities was also quite hard. So new responsibilities, so like making sure your reports are done on time after every race weekend. In karting, that's unheard of. There's no such thing as reports. You finish the race weekend and you can enjoy 2 or 3 days off before the next one. Whereas this one, you need to look and do a proper debrief of the weekend. Have a good overlook and make sure you send it well and do it well. Sorry, so that they can have a conclusive come to a conclusion before the next race, and so that we can be stronger. And then it's also from media duties and everything like that. You need to really be more on top of the game in that aspect in cars, because as I mentioned, there are more eyes on you. That the media is there in a lot of events, and of course I know in Formula 4 we don't have as much as they do in Formula 3, and they don't have as much as they do in Formula 2, and so on as you go up. But I remember one of the first things was I mean, how do I manage myself more, or at least make me look more professional on a race weekend in a way, because I felt so like out of my depths in the first few weekends. I remember thinking, wow, I have no idea what I'm doing. And that was really tricky. That was hard to manage.
Let me tell you, you're doing amazing. So don't worry. And every teenager that's ever existed has had the exact same thoughts, and most of them don't have tens of thousands of followers on social media with loads of eyeballs on them. So give yourself a pat on the back for doing it all. We'll have to go through it, and you're doing it admirably as well. I'm sure the help you're getting is assisting. But yeah, keep doing what you're doing. And the media you mentioned. Perfect segue for me, because Francesca, you've been lucky enough to see Alex race throughout the season. I know you've gone to the tracks, but I mean, the Italian F4's got some pretty good tracks. Like the calendar's solid, some iconic tracks there. Which ones did you go to, and have you got any standout moments from Alex's season you can talk about?
Yes, so I have been to the Paddock, to the Italian F4 Paddock at least 3 times this year. I've been to the opening round at Misano, and then I was also in Monza, and then Imola earlier in August. And so 2 out of the 3 tracks that I've mentioned have been or currently are on the Formula One calendar. So obviously, it's such an honor to visit these tracks and to see this championship that I love so much race. And it's been an incredible Italian F4 season so far, because I've been the Italian F4 editor since last year. And, obviously, I'm not the first to say it's been quite a one-man show last year. And so now we are seeing multiple drivers winning multiple races. And so, I've also had the chance to see, I think it was 2 first-time winners in Monza and also Imola. Unfortunately, I did not get to see Alex at Mugello, but I will be in Misano again, so get something to do for that one round, and that's it.
It's a little bit further to go out to Barcelona, isn't it? That little cameo appearance in the Italian F4 calendar this year. So I understand why you can keep it close to you, because of course those local tracks. It's almost. You look at the Spanish F4, British F4, Italian F4, like these tracks that you get to go to, GB3 and GB4 as well. The tracks they go to, there's so many iconic ones over in Europe. So unfortunately, Alex, it's you're having to come over this side. Are you living in Italy? Is that where you're at now, or what's your situation?
I'm based in Monza.
Oh, So you have all the Milanese food as well. I'm only a little bit jealous.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there for
And
a few years. It's very convenient. I mean, being at the track, it's incredible.
oh man, yeah, I'm massively jealous. Italian food is one of the best on the planet. I couldn't. I can't even imagine how fat I'd get if I lived in Italy. So, congratulations on some self-restraint. We don't hear about me talking about food though, because I've got so many audience questions. I'd say this in the nicest way, but for an F4 driver, which you're not going to be forever, but for an F4 driver, amazing amount of interest that we got from me put the questions to the audience. Francesca and I are going to go through them, and let's start with this one from 3 Carl Brooks. He wants to know, how did you manage school and racing?
That's a really hard point because I can only thank my mom for that, to be honest. She pushed me so much. Fortunately, I graduated in July, and that's just a
Congratulations.
massive release. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a big relief to get that out of the way. Um, she was very pushy, of course, understandably so, on getting graduating from high school, getting a high school degree, which obviously I can understand. I mean, I think it's important to keep education, on top of its game in case anything, from a sporting aspect should happen. I still have an education, a proper education. Sorry, yeah, a proper education. Um, and so it was very difficult, especially this last year, last 2 years even. The 2 years in Formula Cars became quite difficult because I was spending so much time with the team. So last year with Prema, this year with RHGP, working on the simulator as much as possible, preparing for race weekends and for tests. Obviously, in Formula 4, we have a lot of testing. We have no limitation on testing, so we can test as much as we want. So being at the track, testing, and then of course you need to take into account that we're always there 1 or 2 days in advance. So that takes away, another bit from what you can do from the educational standpoint. So it can get very, very busy, especially during, January, February when we're in the Middle East and we're doing like 5 races in the span of 6 weeks. That's crazy, and of course you're in the Middle East, so you want to kind of experience things as much as possible. You want to, go to museums or go to water parks, this, that, and the other. So that's also hard to manage from a personal aspect. Fortunately, I had a great group of teachers working around me. I was going to online school, and I was able to manage kind of that way. But there's no hiding the fact that it was very hard.
I can imagine, especially when you've got the temptation of museums and water parks around the corner as well. And yeah, you'll be glad that you'll be able to focus on the racing at this point. And congratulations again
Yeah.
going through all that. And interestingly, because I know it made headlines earlier in the year, the next question is about another person who's been graduating in 2025. Because Life in Rosehivs, really butchering the name, sorry, via Twitter wants to know, what's your favorite moment with Kimi Antonelli?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think the first one that comes to mind is in 2018. It was my first season in Europe, and I was his teammate in mini kart. So we were both really really small, really little, and it's essentially the World Championship final for minis. We both had a very, very good weekend, and he ended up winning the race, and I finished second, and we crossed the line almost side by side, and it was such a nice kind of experience. I remember it because I think it was one of my first podiums in Europe, and obviously being such a big event, I was content at the time with second, and of course, I mean, it was an incredible ending to his mini kart career as well, because that was his last race, I think, and then he moved up categories. So for him, it was obviously amazing to finish on top, and for me to finish like right there behind him, it was super cool. And I remember the Mercedes guy, the scout was also there, the Gwen Legru. He was there that weekend, and he was kind of watching as well, and that's where I first met him. So for me, it was like a dream weekend, and I remember it vividly. There's a picture of us kind of after the race celebrating with each other, and it's really a great memory.
Mercedes title comes your way with Alex Powell and Kim Antonelli taking the championship. That photo is going to just go absolutely gangbusters on the internet. That's a really great anecdote. Francesca, you got a few questions to go through now.
I do. Okay, so the next question is from Sarge Albans via X. So after the rough start to the Italian F4 season, how did the wins at Mugello make you feel? And what are the goals and your hopes for the rest of the season?
Yeah, as you mentioned, the start of the season was not what we were expecting, and quite to put it, straightforwardly, it was pretty a poor start. So, I mean, those wins in Mugello were like I can't even explain it. It was such an incredible feeling. It was like being on cloud nine. It was just on top of the world. Not only for myself, but for everyone that helped me get to that point. It was such a big push, such a big effort to kind of rebound, and I don't want to say get the season going, but at least get some momentum on our side. And that was just an incredible feeling. And I couldn't be happier to do it for our race as well. I mean, there's such a great hardworking group of people. I really love the environment that I'm in. And so I was just so happy to do it for them. And so it was an incredible, by far my most satisfying win and wins. Um, and yeah, I mean, I can't even, I smile thinking about it now. So yeah, it was a great feeling. And then, of course, looking forward to the second half of the season. Um, as I mentioned earlier on, I think we have a few strong tracks coming up. So we definitely need to take advantage of those and try and be on top of our game. It's hard to have result expectations in place because you can never really know in the end. So I think we just need to continue focusing on our own little thing. We need to make sure that we're executing as best as possible. And of course, looking forward realistically, I'm sitting fourth in the Italian F4 Championship now. It would be amazing if we could finish the season inside the top three. But of course, the only way to do that is to make sure that we're executing and doing the things that we have in our control best as possible. So yeah, I think we can have a pretty strong second half of the season. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, and if I may, just a quick follow-up, have a quick follow-up. Which one of your first wins was the best? Like the Euro 4 one last year in Monza, or these ones at Mugello?
The Euro 4 one was nice. It was really nice, mostly because it was at home. And it was just, yeah, an incredible, like, uh, yeah, I don't know how to explain that. I mean, it was very special for me, of course, it being the very first one. But I would have to say, the wins in Mugello were far more satisfying from where I had been a few weeks earlier, not only from results, but also from a mental aspect, how different it was. What a big turnaround. So I would say the Mugello ones.
Okay, and our next question is also from Sarge Albans, always via X. So, what's your relationship like with your RA's teammates?
I would say we have quite a good relationship. As most drivers have in their teams. I mean, I remember last year I had a very good relationship with a lot of my teammates or all of my teammates in Prema, and this year, it's been pretty much the same with our race. It takes a little bit of gelling in the beginning, of course. Like we start the season kind of not really knowing each other, and then as the year goes on, you become closer and closer. So I would say I have a pretty good relationship with them. I have some strong teammates with me this year, which is really important for team development. But yeah, I mean, from a personal aspect, I mean, we're all very laid back with each other. It's a very nice atmosphere, I would say, and I've definitely made a few new friends this year off the track.
Yeah, I can imagine. And on the topic of RA's teammates, we've got a question from user O Savinkov56 via Instagram, and he wants to know who is your favorite teammate from RA's GP?
Well, considering he wrote that message, I think it's best that I should say him. So, but I like all my teammates, but considering he sent in that message, I'll give him the satisfaction. I'll say Alex Savinkov.
I am thinking you've navigated that question very, very well, but thank you for the question. I've got the next one from Midemi Dog, who wants to know, what's your favorite off-track activity and why?
I think to keep it really, I mean, away from the motorsport scene, I would say playing tennis. Really, I have a lot of enjoyment from playing tennis. Um, I have like one or two tennis buddies that I go with. One I would say I was reasonably better than. The other one, kind of on my day, I can be
Name and
on
shame them,
par.
Alex.
Well, actually, my old performance coach was the one that we played. I don't know, maybe 25 times, and every time we'd go, and he said, "Today's the day that I'm going to beat you. Today's the day." And he could never beat me. I wouldn't even say my level is very high, but fortunately, it was always higher than his. But yeah, then another guy that I play with now, from time to time, I would say his level is a bit higher than mine. So I'm finding a little bit less enjoyment losing all the time. But I still really enjoy it. I mean, I don't follow tennis as a sport that closely, but playing it, I find it helps me to like just take my mind off of things and yeah, just kind of disconnect.
No curiosity about paddle, because the thing that just seemed to sweep motorsport about 5 or 6 years ago was everybody suddenly got into paddle, but you're doing it old school with proper tennis.
Yeah, to be honest, I play a lot of paddle in the Middle East. The only reason I didn't bring up paddle is because in season I don't play that much because I don't really have three other people that I can play with consistently. So sometimes I play paddle. So I play sometimes with James Wharton and Ugo Chukwu and my old performance coach. We'd play from time to time, but mostly it's at the start of the season because that's where everyone's kind of in the Middle East and it's very easy to connect with other people. When I'm at home, it's not as easy to find other people around.
This goes out to everybody in Milan who enjoys paddle. Just go into Alex's DMs.
Yeah.
Desperate for somebody to play with. The next questions, this is the same question, but I want to do a shout out to as many people as possible. So Wavy Mohol, hi, via Discord. Joining our race was a big gamble. Was there anything more on the table for you to join our race? Justin JVD via Instagram. Difference in Prema or our race F4 car? Prema always seems really hard to beat. And then Snitchell George via Discord. This year you switched from Prema to our race. How do the two teams compare? So I'm grouping that all together into, you made a change going from Prema to our race. What was the decision behind that, or what was the ideas behind it, and how are you finding it going between these two different teams who are both very big teams in the sport?
Yeah, of course, as the question, kind of highlighted, it was a big gamble to move from such an established team like Prema. And of course, they've showed many times this year, almost every round, that their approach, their car is very, very competitive, and they bring very good cards to the table in a way. Of course, it's not just a good car that's going to win you races. I mean, it's a good team dynamic. It's a good work ethic from the team. So they've shown that, almost in every round this year. So that's, of course, it's really cool for them. And I would say equally last year, we had, really good cars as Freddie showed almost in every single round. So I think it wasn't more from that aspect. It was just for driver development, for my development, it was best to kind of change environments and see something different, see something new. So for the differences between the team, I mean, it's not a massive difference. I mean, of course, I would say I have more of a team leader role in RSGP. Of course, that comes with a little bit more experience in my second year. And then, just building a close relationship with the mechanics, the engineers. That's one thing that I really, really like inside the team of our race is that you can really feel that the engineers, it's almost like a family atmosphere. They are very, 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 I don't want to say down to earth, but very hardworking group of people. And I can really feel that a lot this year with our race. I feel that they really have that drive because, in the past, at least in Formula 4, they haven't been able to take a really good step forward. Of course, Prema, we know, have had a lot of success in the past in Formula 4. So for them, I don't want to say winning is almost normal, but, winning is almost normal for them, so it's something that happens week in, week out. Whereas for us in our race this year, I would say we took a really big step in that aspect. We've gone from last year, of course, their results were not what they had hoped for. And this year, having, I would say, some really good weekends, you can really see the team dynamic shifting. And it's something that's amazing to see from my aspect as well, because, I remember where they were and where I was 9 months ago when I first joined them, and seeing them now, it's just like, yeah, okay, we've really come a long way. So in terms of driver development, and I think our race had a few things that I can take away, whereas last year, yeah, I just had a little bit more difficulties at some points to really take steps in terms of driver abilities. Yeah.
Understandable. A few questions from you, Francesca.
Yes, thank you, Jim. So our next question is from Drunk Van Alet via Discord. They ask, why don't you race for Jamaica?
Um, I still like to keep Jamaica quite close to me, and not only in my heart, but also I mean from all the fans and everyone watching back home, because there's a lot of supporters, not only from Jamaica but also from the Caribbean, and I think it's really important to push that narrative as well, because it's not very common to find a driver from the Caribbean. Of course, we have a few now, like Zane Maloney, Kiffin Simpson, but it's not very common. And so I think it's really important to keep them close, which I have tried to do. But to be honest, the reason I'm not with the Jamaican flag is just solely for sponsorships and so on. It's a bit difficult to find big sponsors in Jamaica. It's a bit easier, and of course, Formula One at the minute is quite popular in the United States. So it's important to have. I mean, if I have the privilege of having kind of a dual citizenship, a dual nationality, um, it's important to push the one that they're most looking for right now in Formula One. Equally, I like to keep the Caribbean really really close, because yeah, of course that's where I grew up in the end. So I feel a responsibility to keep them close as I move up the ranks.
Do you go back often, Alex?
I try to. I really do. It's not easy though. So the last
No,
time
I
I was
imagine the
back
summer is the
was,
worst time to go for you with just everything else going on. It's like a winter thing, and even then you're
yeah,
doing F4 at this point.
yes. But it's not very easy. It's not very easy to go back. I mean, to find the time week in, week out. I mean, we're racing so much that it's incredibly difficult. You can only really go in summer breaks or winter breaks. But yeah, I try my best to go back.
Okay. Actually, one more follow up. Sorry, Francesca, I'm interrupting your run of questions here. But on that side of things, what is your background? So you say you're living out in the Caribbean, and was I reading earlier? I did a bit of research. I'm slightly professional sometimes. It had Trinidad and Tobago as well, and going out there. And your cousin, which I didn't have a clue about, very famous. So I can see the roots that are there. Like, what is your story from living there, moving to Europe? When did these things happen?
It's a big mix. My family is a really really big mix. So I was born in Miami, but I moved pretty much straight away to the Trinidad and Tobago, the small island, very small island in the Caribbean. And I moved there because that's where my parents' business was, and I pretty much grew up there. Most of my early childhood was there. I think I moved away when I was 10 or 11 years old. So I made all my friends there. I mean, at least in elementary school, and some that I still talk to now, which is nice. And of course, growing up on an island is cool in itself. I mean, it's a different. I remember when I first moved to Italy. Um, it was crazy to kind of see how different everyday life was compared to what I was used to, because it's a very different way of life in the Caribbean than in Europe. So I moved away pretty early on, and it was solely because of the racing. It was very difficult to travel back and forth. And then yeah, now living in Italy and coming back to Miami pretty often. Not so much, unfortunately, to the Caribbean. But yeah, my dad is Jamaican, so that's where the connection comes in with the Safa Powell. Uh, so that's really cool. That's a that's something
Speed
that I
runs
mean
in that
it's
name, you're a quick family.
yeah, unfortunately, I didn't really get the sprinting genes. I'm not very good at 100 meters or 200 or at all of them. But fortunately, in the racing cars, it kind of makes up for anything that's lost in track and field.
Still getting those podium finishes, though, aren't you? So good on you, Francesca. Sorry, you did have the next question. I was just so curious about that background.
I do have the next question, and I'm gonna say luckily so, because I would have liked to see you with this name and last name. Okay, so we got a question from Giacomo Bargagni via Instagram, and he wants to know, in what ways do Mercedes support you? Like, what's the teaching process in a way?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's amazing. It's an amazing privilege to have such like a hard working group of people around me. You can really feel, I really feel their support. I mean, from a personal aspect, especially. So yeah, of course they help me with, having a performance coach there. Not only there on the race weekends, but also, in everyday life, the performance coach is always working with me to help me improve from a physical aspect, but also from just a personal aspect as well, mental approach and all. And then, kind of an advisor there every weekend, looking out for me. So if he sees anything that, maybe isn't what he would like, or something that maybe I'm not doing well, what I'm doing wrong, he's always there to help point out, give words of advice. And that's really important to have. I feel it's important that you always have someone there in your corner, kind of vouching for you. I mean, helping you out. And that's really important. So to have that, that connection between myself on the race weekend and the rest of the Mercedes team. So it's good that there's a bridge there. And yeah, I mean, aside from, the personnel that they supply, it's also a big honor to have, that name behind you, pushing you. I mean, at the same time, of course, it does bring a little bit of pressure, but in a way, in all of motorsport and in all of sports, there's pressure to perform. So I wouldn't say there's a massive added pressure. It's just that, you need to make sure that you're using all the all the things that they supply to you to the maximum of your capabilities. I mean, making sure that you leave no screw unturned. You need to really make sure that you're maximizing everything that you can with what you're provided. And I feel they do a really, really good job at, covering all aspects.
Funny you say that, because, well, the other thing I thought you were going to say was you get some really sweet Adidas merchandise this year as well, which would be nice being a Mercedes driver.
Yeah.
But, the next questions are about that pressure, and you've kind of covered it, so I'm going to ask it a slightly different way. But Nina Lee via Instagram, do you feel there's more pressure on you being a Mercedes junior? And Elisa Ekoff, again via Instagram, does being a Mercedes junior come with extra pressure, or does it give you confidence? So a little tweak on it then. But I guess the spin I want to put on that, because you've sort of answered it, do you feel, even from the karting days, there was almost that pressure? Like, I can imagine Mick Schumacher, for example, is like, oh, that's Schumacher, I need to go and attack that guy. Did you feel like you had that sort of, the drivers out to say, I beat the Mercedes guy, like there was a bit of extra edge in the racing?
Yes and no. Yes, because I think you'll always have that. I mean, in some capacity, but no, because I think it's important to kind of put that to one side. And in the end, you're there to race, and if it's something that you love doing, you can always deal with the pressure. And that's what I mentioned earlier. It's just about, I mean, it's in all of sport, there's always pressure, and of course, in some cases, there are more than others. But I think it's really important to manage the pressure well. That's something in the beginning, especially when I was younger in go-karting, I found it hard to deal with pressure. This was even, before Mercedes came along. And fortunately for me, I had some really good people around me helping me overcome that. So when when I was lucky enough, or when I was fortunate enough to have Mercedes in my corner, I didn't feel like a massive difference in terms of pressure. Of course, you know what your job is, and when you have a bad weekend, you have to report to everyone inside the Mercedes team, and that's when you're kind of keeping your fingers crossed, or you're kind of nervous. But apart from that, they're fully supportive, and they're always kind of looking out for me. And so I think there's always an element of pressure, but you need to make sure that you're using it in a positive way, and using it to motivate you, and not really using it to bring you down. So for sure, there's always, the drivers that would love, to beat, the Mercedes driver, which I fully understand, which would make sense, of course. But you need to make sure that you're kind of channeling that pressure in a positive way, pushing you forward and not really bringing you down, in a sense.
Very mature answer for, I was going to say a very young guy. It's your birthday next month as well, I was seeing in my...
It is.
Happy birthday in advance. Another very Jamaican-oriented question, but Tibek Fanboy via Discord, what do you think of cool runnings? And please tell me what that is. Thank God.
I do.
Sometimes.
It was actually my favorite movie for a really, really long time. I used to love watching it. I always used to watch it with like my family, especially my mom and my dad. I always used to ask them to put it on. It's a great. I started doing this like funny thing earlier this year where we'd have an egg like at the beginning of a race weekend and call it like a lucky egg in a way. I stopped doing it after 2 or 3 race weekends because it didn't work. But it was just something funny that I started doing earlier this year. But yeah, I really do like it. We had a dog that we named after one of the characters in Cool Running. So definitely Sanka, yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yes.
I haven't seen the movie for so long, but when I was a kid, Sanka, you're dead man. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's great. It's so funny.
I have some Jamaican heritage myself, so I
Really?
not from any sort of way like yourself, like much affiliation, never been there. But yeah, that movie just was and still is. It was so fun. Francesca, you've got a few questions. Unfortunately, the first one not as fun as Cool Runnings, but please take it away.
This is a bad time to admit that I have no idea what you just talked about.
Oh, Francesca, it's a very bad time. Francesca's connection got really bad, and we had to get rid of it.
Sorry. No.
No, in fact, actually, just it's very valid. It's a movie about Jamaica, not a particularly strong winter sports country, having a bobsleigh team back in whatever Olympics it was, the 80s, 90s, something. And it's like an underdog, the true underdog story. But it's a movie, I don't even know when it's from, I'm going to Google it now. From the mid-90s, I'm guessing. Cool.
Yeah, I think it was like in Calgary, the Winter Games in Calgary, but okay.
Yes, 1988, the games, and then came out in 1993, based on a true story. So that's what it is, Francesca, and anybody else who doesn't know. But you do have the next question.
Okay, I do. And so this question is from Slater F2 Champion 2026. Good name. Yeah, Discord. And they want to know, what are your plans for after this year? Do you plan to step up to a series like Formula Regional or Euro Cup 3? And do you wish to make a bigger jump to F3?
To be fully honest, at this point, I have no clue about what's going on for next year. The focus still remains, of course, on this season. I would love to move up to Formula Regional next year or to Euro Cup 3. Of course, the way to do that is to make sure that performances are strong this year, to make sure that that's a possibility on the cards for next year. I would assume so. But of course, nothing is set in stone until it really happens. I think the move up to Formula 3 is a massive step up. And I don't know if that's something that I'm, super eager to do. I would prefer to make sure that my development from a driving side is on point before moving into those categories, because that's really the time where limited free practice time, quite short on testing, throughout the whole season. So you really need to be on top of the game. So I would say kind of a middle step is more logical, I think, for next season.
And then Alexander Savinkov wants to know, what are the banging songs that he puts for his karaoke sessions before an actual session? And can you sing the Coco No song, please?
Okay. Well, first of all, the songs that he puts on are not very good. They're below average. So that's why I always have the privilege of having, we call it aux, you have you have the I don't know. I play the music all the time. So yeah, the aux cable. So yeah, I have the rights to play the music. Whenever I give it to him, we go off course, and the session never goes very well. So I always have that responsibility, fortunately. And well, I'm not gonna sing Coco No because it's our secret song. However, before qualifying in Mugello, we put on, or before the race weekend in Mugello, before every session, we would put on this song. I think it's called El Coco No. And I think it's a Mexican song, but the performance was amazing that weekend. And so now every weekend, every test that we go to, it's always on. And it's pretty funny sometimes because it's not a very serious song, to be honest. And we have it inside our driver's truck, and the engineers kind of sit not too far away. We have like a board that kind of blocks us, but sometimes if the engineers are a bit annoyed, they'll come and like knock on our door to turn down the music or something like that, and
It
we're
might
just
sound
kind of
like
in there
you're
dancing.
turning it down so you stop singing. I want to hear you sing the Coco
Yeah.
No song.
Maybe there might be a video that comes out later on this year, singing Coco No when I'm not aware that it's being taken, because I have to be, I have to be careful with my singing, I have to protect the voice.
Yeah, so basically what we're saying, if people are listening now in the future and you've come back and we've seen another double victory weekend, there'll be a Coco No song that happened beforehand, and we've probably got a little bit of a karaoke
Yeah.
rendition of it somewhere on the internet. No, that's really good. What we're going to do, because we're going to run out of time, so I've got quickfire questions, 10 quickfire questions you can give a one-word answer to. If you want to elaborate, that's your call. So just start with, I thought we said ninja to start with. Nij Nejanoda. What would you say is your comfort dish?
Ooh, I would say, maybe a plain pasta. Like I feel it's a very, yeah, yeah. I don't really know. I don't have a comfort dish. I have a favorite dish, not really a comfort dish.
Okay, favorite dish, that works as well. I'm very good on you for going with an Italian dish as well. You could have been rushed out of the country if you said something different. Heya090, fave track on the F1 calendar that you look forward to racing in?
I would really like to drive in Baku.
Wow, what a good answer. I didn't expect that as well. Suzuka, Interlagos, all these ones, but Baku. Okay. Udon crisp, cheesecake or chocolate cake?
Chocolate cake. I do not like cheesecake at all.
Wow, that's the most stern you've been in any answer on cheesecakes. Panini 082. What will your F1 racing number be?
41. However, my dad is very, he's pushing me a lot to go back to the number 80. He thinks that it's a more sentimental number in a way. But for me, I'm quite happy with 41.
Is Lance Stroll 18 at the moment? I don't remember the numbers.
80. I meant 80.
Oh, 8080. Okay, you're
Yeah.
sorted then. No worries, no worries. Master Riley's, do you play Fortnite?
I used to.
I don't think anybody your age wouldn't have, so that makes a lot of sense. Michael McClure, do you prefer Chicago or New York City?
New York City.
Hates a deep dish pizza, this guy. Tia, your motorsport hero?
I would say between Niki Lauda and Lewis Hamilton. Of course, Lewis Hamilton's like a massive inspiration, but Niki Lauda, I'm so sad I never got to meet him. But yeah, big inspiration to me.
You're a company man with these Mercedes legends. I get that. Very good answers. Snitchel George, this one's a really tough one. What's your favorite vegetable?
Broccoli.
You didn't have to wait for it. Good. Cassiology, if you weren't a racing driver, what would you be?
Again, to keep it completely off the topic of racing, I would definitely pursue a singing career.
Singing your little, whatever, Coco No song.
Exactly, Coco No, selling albums.
Great. And then finally, the question everybody tunes in for. Checo Pal wants to know, what color is your toothbrush?
Blue.
Blue. Oh, I was having a theory from some of the other answers that people are either patriotic with their toothbrushes or that they go in with like their team colors. I think Dorian Pan had like a green-black one or something like that. But you've gone completely off topic.
Oh.
So maybe you're going to be a Williams or
Maybe
I
I need to change
or
that.
something in the future instead. You need to get Mercedes black and green. Well, we found out that you've got blue toothbrush. Alex, you've been very, very good with your answers. So thank you so much. Thank you for generous with your time. That's all the time we have this episode. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. If you are watching on YouTube, again, dropping a like on the video, leaving a comment and subscribing to the channel all really helps us out. And if you're listening, leaving a review on the podcast platform you're listening on is greatly appreciated. Finally, check out feederseries.net for more Feeder Series insights and follow Feeder_series and FS Americas on X, Feeder Series Net on Instagram, and Feeder Series on TikTok. You can find the links to all of that, plus the accounts of myself and everyone else on the podcast in the YouTube description or podcast show notes. Until next time, we have been the Feeder Series podcast. Goodbye.